Welcome to this month's edition of the Massachusetts Federal Funds Partnership. As folks get onto the line, just a little bit of housekeeping. So this meeting is being recorded. We will have a question and answer session later on in the presentation, but if you have any questions, you can put them into the chat and we'll take them during the moderated question and answer session. And as always, you can reach our office at fedfundsinfra@mass.gov. You can ask questions there and we get back to you in response to that. We'll give you a little bit of an overview of the agenda of the meeting. So first, we'll just start with some updates on some of what we're tracking here in the Massachusetts Federal Funds and Infrastructure Office. And then my colleague Amy will highlight a few of the open federal funding opportunities. And then we have two presentations for you today. One is from the Massachusetts Emergency Management Agency on flood mitigation assistance, which is a program we've been very focused on. And then we will let you know a little bit about a program out of the USDA on distance learning and telemedicine grants. So moving forward to the FFIO updates, we have been watching the federal government's, so Congress has been considering reconciliation as well as the annual budget. And the bipartisan infrastructure law is a version of the surface transportation reauthorization. So every 5 years, Congress reauthorizes a bill relating to surface transportation. The bipartisan infrastructure law was a particularly large and important instance of that process, but Congress is at it again, and the bipartisan infrastructure law itself will expire in this summer. And so Congress is in the process of considering a new version of that bill. The House Transportation Infrastructure Committee has approved a version of the bill, but it's still working its way through the process. And Congress is also considering some important budget and reconciliation matters as well. So we will continue to keep you updated on what's going on Capitol Hill. Moving to the next slide. We are also continuing to track the impact that recent changes in the federal funding landscape have had on Massachusetts. You can go to mass.gov/federal impact or Fed impact, which has an ongoing tracker of the impacts of federal funding cuts. At the moment, we are tracking about $3.7 billion in cuts that have directly impacted Massachusetts. That includes both some of the federal executive branch agency cuts and the impact so far of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. But we expect there to continue to be negative impacts on Massachusetts, particularly on the healthcare side, as those changes continue to work their way through the system. This tracker also only captures the impacts on the state treasury. It doesn't capture all of the impacts on you, on cities, towns, tribes, nonprofit organizations. We do care about those impacts, and there is a mechanism through mass.gov/Fed impact for you to let us know about the impacts that you're experiencing. And you can also reach us through Fed Funds Infra at mass.gov. And we'd love to hear from you about what you're experiencing and how we can help. Moving to the next slide. We also were recently highlighted in a Pew Research Center report that was cataloging a number of the state's responses to the evolving federal funds landscape. So you can see some of the ways in which our office and the Healey-Driscoll Administration have been trying to tackle some of these challenges as they go forward, as well as we've been in close touch with a number of other states as they're trying to navigate this as well, and trying to adopt some best practices from our colleagues. Moving to the next slide. We are also continuing to engage with the National Governors Association, as well as with other states on some of the ongoing federal programs. I was in Washington last week with a number of our counterparts with the National Governors Association. We had an opportunity to meet with the EPA and the US DOT. And a couple weeks ago, we were also met with the NTIA and some of the U.S. Department of Commerce folks. And we will continue to fight for Massachusetts interests on the national level and bring you good information about opportunities and challenges as we learn about them. Moving to the next slide. As always, you can learn about ongoing federal funding opportunities and challenges through our website, the FFIO website. You can follow us on LinkedIn, and you can connect with us by email at funds@mass.gov. Moving to the next slide. And with that, I'd love to turn it over to my colleague, Amy, who can highlight some of the open federal funding opportunities that we've been tracking. Amy?
Thanks, Quentin. Good afternoon, everyone. I have a handful of open NOFOs that I'll go through briefly today. To start with, there are 3 currently open programs through FEMA that are funding opportunities that support firefighters and other first responders across 3 separate programs. They all have a fairly quick turnaround, June 22nd deadline. The first one here is the Assistance to Firefighters Grant. There's $291.6 million available for fire departments and other emergency medical services agencies. Recipients can use the money to acquire personal protective equipment, as well as emergency response vehicles. They can also use it to fund health, wellness, and resiliency initiatives for first responders. There's no max award listed for this grant. There is a required cost share dependent on the population served by the applicant. So it'll be between 5 and 15%. And awards should be selected by late September. The next program is the SAFER program, Staffing for Adequate Fire and Emergency Response. There's $324 million available currently, and this is for fire departments and volunteer fire departments as well. Recipients can use the money to pay salaries for career department. So hiring activities are a funding category for those career departments, as well as recruitment and retention activities for the volunteer fire departments here. There's no max award listed. There is a matching funds requirement with a little bit of detail and nuance here for the retention, for the hiring category in terms of retaining those newly hired firefighters. So that's one to pay attention to. And again, anticipated awards by the end of September. Lastly, for this group of FEMA fire-related grants today, there's a $32.4 million pot available right now for fire prevention and safety grant program. This one is for fire departments and nonprofit organizations, academic and other research-oriented institutions. Recipients of this award can use money to fund research and clinical studies focused on community fire prevention and firefighter safety, health, and well-being. There is a 5% cost share requirement here. And funding categories include community risk reduction, wildfire risk reduction, code enforcement, a few other areas. There's also a research and development track here, and awards anticipated by late August. There's a lot of resources available on the FEMA website right now regarding the application requirements, tools, templates, and a lot of webinars running last week and this week with recordings too. So if you're interested, there's a lot of extra sort of stuff available there for those programs right now. We also have a guest speaker here today to present in more depth on the distance learning and telemedicine grant program. So I will leave those details for a little bit later in the program. Stay tuned. And then on our next slide here, there's a rural business development program that's currently open through USDA. This program supports economic development and job creation projects in rural areas. There are two separate categories. There are business opportunity grants supporting things like economic development, leadership and entrepreneurship training, rural business incubators. And then the second category is for business enterprise grants, which can support training and technical assistance in things like project planning, rural business incubators, business counseling, and a lot more. This one has a late June 30th deadline. And then the rural capacity building for community development and affordable housing grants. This is through Housing and Urban Development. This program enhances the capacity and ability of rural housing development organizations, so CDCs, community housing development organizations, rural local governments and tribes, and helps folks carry out affordable housing and community development activities in those areas that benefit low and moderate income folks in particular. This one has a July 6th deadline. And then lastly, we have the Flood Mitigation Assistance Program, also open through FEMA. And again, we have Shelley O'Toole from MEMA here today to present on this one. So I'll leave, again, the details to her. These and a few other NOFOs are in our most recent newsletter. So check that out for additional details and links. And as usual, reach out to us with any questions or for assistance. And I will leave it there and hand it back to Quentin.